Going, folks. Now, this particular topic has really got me thinking a lot, and it's the same topic. And for me to try to decode it, it's gonna take a bit of time. So I've already aligned the frame of it, but that's about it. So this topic is more related. I look at my past, I look at my parents' past, and I look at mine. And I look at what the old folks are saying to me. And one of the most important one is a good wife will bring prosperity within the family. I never understood the bigger picture, but now I understand. And I won't say just say migrants or passport bros wanting to marry someone from their country or third world country and whatever, and you're bringing to this first world country where they were marginalized in their country because it's more of the patriarchal, the laws and everything. Now, feminists wants to include a lot of rights, not saying bad about it, with the woman, a lot of rights and power, which is great. And it becomes where it is now, where Jackie Chan has mentioned, when you give them too much freedom, it becomes dysfunctional. So I'm combining everything together, and I'm just looking at it, the whole thing. Even though the feminists will claim, the Australia is still a patriarchal, not a matriarchal. Then you look at countries that has a lot of laws, and you look at many of the Western country, they're 50% or close to 50% is divorce. And you hear a lot of, white folks especially will claim to you that they were divorced 3-4 times in their lifetime. Then you have another talk of saying like, married the girl back in your country. Then I'm trying to tie everything together, and what my, AKA I call him Godfather, will say that they learn very quick the moment they stay in Australia or Western country. They learn the tricks of the trade very quickly, and that's why a lot of them who married overseas do not want them to get learned. But it's very deadly for them to learn, to know their power, the right, and manipulating without the in-sources, in comparison to Australian born. There's two differences of them. The Australian born was they saw their grandparents or their family, they see it in and out, they know the drill, X, Y, and Z, and if they're going to use it, they'll use it. They'll be upfront, honest about it. If they don't love you, they'll kick you out the house, whatever. Migrants, they'll use the, They'll use the, playing the game and play around the bush to fight the long-term war, the nagging and everything like that. And for me to look at it now and go through it and living through the moment and talking to my peers, they're going through the same thing. And yesterday I just found out, and before that, I honestly thought money and power will bring them this sort of behavior. Then I hear like, if you don't give me 10 grand, I'll kick you out the house. This sort of conversation, it's very scary to even hear about it. And before I get into the topic, I would like to say, like, no matter how many kids you have, a child will always need a mom and dad. It doesn't mean the mother is a millionaire or the father is a millionaire. You don't have to put someone down under because you're earning a lot of money, X, Y, and Z. Now, I'm just talking about migrants, right? Or married girls in the overseas or passport bros. The moment you're married to these girls, they start to learn the tricks of the trade, and they're becoming the very strong, dominant, matriarchal power against the men. For example, nagging and give them money. If they don't give them that certain amount of money, there will be silence or whatever, and they hodl the money or hoarding the money, right? Regardless what you guys use the word. So yeah, and when they have a lot of money, when you give it to them, regardless where the money goes, whatever, that's not up to us to say whatever how it is. But the more money you're giving to them, they grab you by the balls, right? Your balls are being grabbed on. And when your balls are being grabbed on, this is where it becomes a problematic, where they have a lot of power. They know you have no savings. You must obey to them. You must be submissive. They know you're not going to run away. They know you're going to give them the money that's delivered. At what point of given that you can hold on to keep on doing that? That's a question that everyone has to answer themselves. And when you grab them by the balls, you'll be submissive. And this is where it becomes power. And obviously you can't hit them. Obviously you can't yell at them. You just obey, or else they pull out the D card. Alright? And when they pull the D card, obviously all of us have to be silent, because they know it's power over you. No matter what they do, they're power over you. They'll never be happy or satisfied. Even if they find a young chap or a side chap and everything. And this is where a lot of this sort of behavior is going through, is a trend on modern marriage, on the migrant girl or whatever. Now let's get back to the local girl. The local girl will know everything. They will contribute a little bit of money here and over there, have a bit of reasonable. And if they don't like it, they will say up front to you. And it's a very mutual, not a bloody war divorce where the passport bros or whatever have to, American migrant have to go through. And when you go through that, it becomes another it's a lot more better, a lot more view. At least they are a lot more open-minded about it, acceptable, where the migrants, they look at it a different way, because they start to realize it's a bad, rotten deal, because she has to work a lot. Even though she has the house, she has all these bills has to pay for. But the moment she has to pay all these bills, and the moment she increased her her salary by working, she started to work. This is where it becomes the child support has reduced, no matter how many kids you have. And she's going, this is where it becomes money hungry and the whole thing. Many people says woman has this nesting behavior. And when you build a lot of money, you give into them, you give into that nest. It's full, they can power, they will kick you out. And that sort of mindset power over you, it's very toxic. And I'll say this is the most toxic marriage traits. Like, you're there to marry or you raise a family. You're there to grasp on this family. It's not about like I'm competing over you. When the marriage, you grow together, you scratch everyone's together, you learn together, you raise the family together. It's not about powers over you to go and say X, Y, and Z, and if you don't listen, you get kicked out. You get threatened to get kicked out every day. And when you have like that, this is where it becomes a problematic. When it becomes a problematic, it becomes a way of, with the whole thing like that. When you have like that, it becomes where a very dysfunctional moving forward. And even, let's just say you go through the divorce, they go through divorce, and later on she started slowly waking up and saying, Jesus, I have all these toxic friends and peers, and what I've learned, that it is not working out of my favor, what I thought it would be, or my dream, or whatever the situation, like I said, X, Y, and Z, alright? Then they try to get the man back again, because they might have a fling with a young chap, and it turns out the young chap cannot sustain their cost of living, in the household. They're gonna find a young chap, and when they find a young chap, you know what, I'm not here to say bad about the young chap, but the young chap, you just get some punani. But when the young chap comes in to see all this responsibility, he's running away. Now the man that you kicked him out, he's been beaten down, lost his career, mentally, physically destroyed, by all these phone calls and kids, and this is where it becomes a problematic. And when it becomes a problematic, it doesn't repair the family back together, because the trauma, the scar, the lingering scar, that it's already destroyed you mentally, physically, that you cannot move forward anymore. Even you stay with the family, there's going to be an underlying problem with the money. Thanks to the cost of living is going up, thanks to the with the interest rates going up, and this is not on favor for everyone. Alright, taxes is going on, new taxes introduced, new laws is going to be unfavored, and it becomes stricter and stricter and stricter. And this whole divorce thing, and it destroys not only just your family, you already destroy your linear of your family bloodline already. And whether you decided or whether the woman decided, you've already destroyed the bloodline. And when you destroy the bloodline, you try to repair it or try to get to a certain stage, it will never be repaired. And that's why, when Andrew Tate mentions at times you need to sacrifice your queens, whether it's relationships. So because if they grab you by the balls all the time, if you don't do this, I'll do divorce. If you don't listen to this, I'll kick you out the house. Whatever the topic or conversation, that is nothing what I could say. But what I say, if you have more of this sort of conversation, it brings more problem. And when you bring more problem, you will never solve it. And at times, many men said to me, you'll never change a woman's mind. When they're at that mood on thinking, you have to let it go. And the reason behind, not because you don't love her, this and that, it's because at times it's best for them to taste it, And men should have a plan B, accommodation, or friends that they do know, or backup cash, whatever. And if they don't do that, that's when it becomes a problematic. And when you have a problem like that, I was lucky enough to have a hold of my former landlord, even though he kicked me out in the past, but I still kept contact with him. So when you have a woman grab you by the balls all the time and about money, increasing money, more money, what essentially happened to you, regardless if you're opening a business or career, it makes you burnt out and fear of going home because you don't know what is the next landmine or ticking time bomb. You don't feel respected. You don't feel, whatever. And unfortunately, that's the way the Western world. But to know where is this conversation that I mentioned now, it's a very popular trend in marriages nowadays. I spoke to many marriage men who are suffering for the whole thing. Then you got competition or X, Y, and Z. And when the family is destroyed, once it cannot be repaired, even if it does repair, it's not the same as usual before. So that's why I said a good wife will bring prosperity. And if the good wife doesn't bring, and in this situation, if a good wife doesn't bring prosperity, it becomes a problem. Now when it becomes a problem, this prosperity is being destroyed. Not only just destroyed, but the bloodline is destroyed already by what they learn from social media, by their peers, by their family encouragement. And this is where it becomes a toxicity without they realizing where they get themselves into. Now, that's the topic that I need to decode a bit more, because there's one area that I need to know, because in the hunter-gatherer society, the man goes out and hunt and women's a gathering. Whether they gather berries or vegetables, whatever, you name it, okay? I'm not here to complain. But this sort of notion on having this and having that, we live in 2024. Human beings can live more than 80, 90 years old. The two of the phase of the highest divorce is either younger age or midlife crisis. It's all about survival now. And the moment you give money to a woman all the time like that, and when you have no money and she doesn't spend it or she make you look nice, her bags are full. Her Santa bag is getting full and full and full. And what she starts to realize is when she gets to midlife crisis, or when she gets to 40s and 50s, nobody's gonna hire them. So the feminists nowadays will encourage a workforce to push people to hire especially matured age women. Now the problem with the mature age woman, they a lot of complain backstabbing and cannot keep up with the work, and very poorly with the tech savvy than the younger generation. And this becomes a problematic put on hold on a woman when they think that way, and they think of who's going to get divorced first, and it's about survival. A man can keep on working. A man sacrifices time for the family. And this is where it becomes a whole notion where a lot of videos out saying, once you get married, your money, a man's money is a family's money. The woman's money is her money. So the moment you give her money, it's her money. So you see this whole nesting behavior already, but now this trend on especially the migrants, and as well with passport bros, is gonna be a problematic in the long term. That whether divorce or whether death or suicide, this is where it's gonna come. Like I said, nothing is favorable towards families nowadays. But yeah, that's about it. That's the video. I've clocked in for 15 minutes to explain all of them. And you know, finding a girl in the overseas, they think they can rewire them to not to think that way. But yeah, once they learn the language, they know how to drive, this and that, you give them the opportunity to freedom. This is where it becomes a problem. You cannot say anything, you cannot go against it. When you go against it, decard, you're erupting, you know, not only just the eggshell, you've opened up the eggshells, the cracks, the seals and everything like that. So that's why I said it's very, very difficult for men in today's world. That's what I'm saying, in the Western world.